Yo, welcome in. Thanks, everybody. Whoa, what happened to my mic? There we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. So I'm starting a little bit early this morning because I have a mastermind call that bleeds into the time that we would have normally been streaming a little bit later, but I still wanted to get at least an hour in with you this morning to help many of you who have questions. A lot of you I know are also cranking on your businesses right now and potentially don't have access to people or resources that you would normally have access to. So I just wanted to be here for support. If this is your first time catching me live, welcome in. Thanks so much for being here. We're going live daily here on YouTube, typically at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. However, we're starting a little bit early today so we can just hang out and get that hour in before I got to go to my mastermind call. And it's really important for me to get on these calls with my mastermind group because we all have businesses too, and we all know each other's businesses really well. And we've been there through thick and thin. And, this mastermind group in particular has a number of people that you may have heard of before on the show: Cliff Ravenscraft, Michael Stelzner, Mark Mason, Ray Edwards, and Leslie Samuel. And we've been together for, I think, 7-8 years now, every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. So I'm going to be a little bit late to the call. I let them know already. It's all good. But being here for you is really, really important to me. So I just wanted to hang and make sure that I could still provide value for you, even though I want to get out a little early so I can be with my mastermind group. And I would encourage you, if you don't have a mastermind group yet, to try and find people that you can resonate with, that you can chat with and hang out with, and just lean on each other on a little bit more than you might lean on somebody who's just sort of on the other side of the world, who you only have access to through social media. So good morning, everybody. What's up? I saw a question earlier about music. So this music I have, for example, I was playing this earlier, and I have some other songs here on the Rodecaster Pro. I have this one too. These are all royalty-free songs that I purchased, I have a license for, from artlist.io. Artlist.io. What's cool about artlist.io, and this isn't like a hashtag ad or any sponsorship or anything, I just really like their service. For a annual fee, I get to download as many songs as I want, and I can basically do whatever I want with them. Not anything I want with them, but a lot of things. For example, include them in streams and podcasts and that kind of stuff. And the songs are really good. They're almost like radio quality, in my opinion. A lot of them have voices, a lot of them don't. You can also choose between different genres, different moods, different styles, and it's really cool. So artlist.io for the win. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We got Jeff, Jeanette, Ellen, David, Hasta La Vista, Boss, Pat. Where'd you get your music? Oh, we just talked about that. That was you, I guess, who asked that question. Buckley, Fabiano, Health and Fitness Product, Solar Gravity, Jiho. Let's see here. Who else is in the house? Alex is asking a question about what we talk about in the mastermind group. Well, the typical mastermind group format outside of this crazy stuff that's happening in the world right now is we'll spend about 10 minutes going round table, and that's 10 minutes in total out of an hour-long call, sharing wins. So what was one thing we did since the last call that we sort of stepped into that worked out really well, that we're very grateful for, whatever the case may be. It varies every single time for every single person. And then after 10 minutes, one person is designated in the hot seat. The hot seat is that person's time for 40 minutes to ask the group a question. And if they don't have a question, it's to present the group with something that's been working in their business. So it's always very valuable. And those hot seats are just incredibly important to me because once a month, essentially, it's almost once a month, it's once every month and 1 week, I get a chance to present something that is new or is bothersome or that I'm struggling with the group. And I get 5 other brains there who are experienced business owners in all different kinds of niches to lend a hand, to provide a voice. It's really hard to read the label when you are inside the bottle. And a lot of times, have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you're like, hey, I need help with this, and they tell you something or they ask you a question and it's like, oh yeah, I totally didn't even see that, my bad. And that's because we're so, when we're in our own businesses, we're so inside of it that we can't see what it's like on the outside. And sometimes something that's so obvious is just not available to us because we're always thinking about this one thing or some other thing. What's up, Rap and Combat? Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. Jeff says, I'd love to hear some thoughts on what Aromatic Wisdom Institute asked. So I will go up and feature that question. How do you have both Pat Flynn and smartpassiveincome.com pointing to one YouTube channel? I'd welcome insight into YouTube channel names, branding URLs, more than one channel, etc. So the quick history with the YouTube channel here is that the username is Smart Passive Income. And that's what I started back in 2009. This YouTube channel started 11 years ago. And it was initially just a place for me to put tutorials and stuff. And I was very scared about putting my face on camera. It's funny because here we are today. And the only thing that I did was just kind of screen recordings. And that was my way of sort of easing into YouTube. And then slowly and surely I started to put my face on there and started to get a little bit more comfortable with that. And then now, like I said, this is day 9 of the Quaranteam live stream. And thank you for being here today. And again, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that you get notified tomorrow. Tomorrow, most likely, we'll be back at the regular time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's a little bit early today for those of you who are on new. We're starting early today because I have to leave a little bit early, but I still wanted to make sure I started the day here for you in full 1 hour value. But to continue my YouTube journey, the name Pat Flynn, or the sort of short URL Pat Flynn, once you get to a certain point, you have the ability in your advanced settings to create a custom URL for your YouTube channel, in addition to your username. So if you type in youtube.com/smartpassiveincome, it redirects to youtube.com/user-smartpassiveincome just based on the username. But the Pat Flynn one, interestingly, I decided that I wanted to go personal brand on YouTube. And so I looked to see if Pat Flynn was taken as a custom URL that I could use, again, inside of YouTube. And then what happened was I saw that there was a channel that had been up for about a decade plus that had one video that was published, over a decade ago. And this was, a number of years back. So now at this point, it might be like 15 years old. And I reached out to YouTube and I had no expectations whatsoever. But interestingly enough, I reached out and I said, hey, can I get this URL? This person's not using it. I doubt that they even logged in a long time. And they were like, sure, you can use it. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. The other interesting story related to patflynn.com that I wanted to share, which isn't related to YouTube, but it's still related to sort of asking and patience, was I wanted patflynn.com for a very long time. But there was this photographer named Pat Flynn who had used it and was using it to redirect to sort of like a Flickr page, right? Sort of just a third-party website about his photography. So I was like, okay, there's a chance here because they're not even really using it. So I reached out to Pat Flynn and I said, hey, I'd love to purchase your domain name, Pat Flynn. I'll pay you $500 for it. And I wanted to start low just to see. I expected to pay, maybe $1,000 or $1,500. But this person reached out and they said, no, sorry, not for sale. And I said, okay. And this was, by the way, about 4 or 5 years ago. And so I really wanted patflynn.com though, because I knew I was going to do something with it one day. And so I reached back out and I said, okay, well, I'm sorry. I'd love to actually offer you $1,000 for it. And they said, nope, I'm again, not selling. Then I offered $2,000. And then I offered $5,000, which was going to be my max, although it's still, I don't know, at the time I was like a little bit reserved about that, but I just kind of wanted to see where this person's number was. Cause we all have a number, right? Maybe not, but I just wanted to see. So I reached back out to this person, his name again, Pat Flynn. And I said, okay, I'll buy it for $5,000. He said, I'm not budging. $10,000. And then my final ultimate offer was $20,000 for patflynn.com. I wouldn't have paid that, but I just wanted to see. And he said, sorry, I'm not selling. So I was kind of bummed, but I ended up getting patflynn.me to then sort of become the sort of business card of mine online, to just be a static page. And, I wasn't really going to do anything with it at any point in time, anytime soon. Well, fast forward 3 to 4 years later, and this person, Pat Flynn, reached back out to me and he says, hey, I remember you were interested in buying patflynn.com. I'd actually like to explore that offer again because I'm looking to go to Africa to do a safari, a photography safari. And my wife reminded me that I had a person who was willing to pay money for my domain name and I'm willing to sell it now. How about $20,000? Like you initially, like you left off last time. And I said, okay, this person made a huge mistake, by the way. They told me what they needed it for. And I knew it was something that would have been life-changing for them, right? Like an African safari trip to take photos. So I knew I had a little bit of leverage there. So what I did was I replied and I said, no thanks, not interested. I'm not interested in buying anymore. Even though I really wanted it, I wanted to see how much he would come down. And he said, okay, well, how about $10,000? Like, I'll cut the price in half for you. And I said, you know what? I have patflynnme.com. It's doing exactly what I wanted to do. I'm not interested anymore. And then we just kept negotiating. And I kept making him go lower and lower and lower. And eventually I was able to pick it up for $2,000. So it took a lot of time. And thanks for reminding me about that, because that just is one of those stories of sometimes you got to be patient with it, but also negotiation is a very, very important skill. And there's a book out there by a man named Chris Voss, I think it's called, Never Split the Difference. And he is a former FBI negotiator, and I would highly recommend that book. I've listened to it twice, and it can teach you a lot of simple skills that you can use for negotiation. One of them being something called mirroring. Mirroring is a tactic, and I actually started using this when I learned this tactic. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and you want to like learn a little bit more about them, mirroring is essentially just repeating the last parts of the sentence that they just shared with you, because then they're going to continue on and reveal information to you. And interestingly enough, I ended up using this tactic with my wife just to kind of experiment with somebody who was close to me to see what it would do. And it led to some of the best conversations we've ever had. And so this is a tactic that I use now with my wife and anybody who's close to me or anybody I'm negotiating. I mirror the last few things they say. So let's say, for example, she might say, oh man, I had a really tough day today. I'm just not feeling it. You had a really tough day today? You're not feeling it? No, like my friend sent me this text message, and I just wasn't really excited about what I saw. You weren't excited about what you saw? Oh yeah, I saw this and that. So mirroring is a really interesting strategy there, and it's just one of several I picked up from that book, which is really cool. Whoa, this coffee's hot. That's not cool. Let's see. Speaking of which, what are your thoughts on using my community platform so Quaranteam here can stay direct contact or directly connected with Pat Flynn? So community.in or my community, is that the text messaging platform? So there was a guy named Bobby Hundreds. He has a clothing line. By the way, I connected with him via a text app like Community. I think that's the one you're talking about. And I was really impressed because I did get a bot-like response at the start, but then he reached out and said, hey, Pat, thanks for being there on Twitter, because I had found his book. This is not a t-shirt. That's the name of his book, about how in LA he came up with this brand, and it's called The Hundreds, and Bobby Hundreds is his name. And I was really impressed because he personally reached out to me after I subscribed to him via text. I think Gary Vaynerchuk is big on that text thing too. And I was so impressed that I wanted to purchase something from him. So I bought a t-shirt. Check this out. What do you think of that? So this is a Hundreds product, and I got that from Bobby, which is really cool. People over product. POP. All right. Hey, we're over 100. That's awesome. Again, we started a little bit early today, so if you're just coming in, don't worry, you missed a little bit, but I'm going to be here probably until 8:40 a.m., 8:45 a.m., but I wanted to start early because I have a call that I need to be on with my Mastermind Group, but I still wanted to get that hour in, so I woke up even earlier and having a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Thanks for keeping me up. And Pat, what happened? Could you not sleep? Yeah, kinda. I was just really excited about being here with you. Or maybe you're referencing the bags under my eyes. I don't have a makeup person in the house to help out with that, so I apologize. Loving this teaching on negotiation since you're a trustworthy person and I have a negative mental image of negotiating. Yeah, it's like selling, right? People, they say selling is bad. A lot of people have very negative feelings with selling, much like you have negative feelings with negotiation. And I think it's because we've all seen the negative side of those things, right? However, you can sell and serve at the same time. I think we all know this. It depends on what you sell and the place that you're coming from. And the same thing with negotiation. With negotiation, if you use it in a way that helps and benefits people, it's a very powerful thing, an absolute powerful thing. But it could be used for evil too. So with great power comes great responsibility. So you can use negotiating to help. So I'm using these negotiation tactics to see, for example, how I can help my wife understand what she might be having problems with, or what we want to have for dinner? Gosh, that's a topic for if there ever was one. Where do we want to go out to eat? What do we want for dinner? Oh, anything's fine. Okay, well, what about this? No, not that though. Well, tell me a little bit more, all these strategies. I use negotiation with my kids to help them understand, because I'm coming from a place of service for them, why they need to do these certain chores, why they need to do these certain things, because it's a great thing to do as a human being, but they don't know that. But they're kids, and negotiation works really well with kids. Whoa, Sarah, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. I'm going to highlight your chat here for a little bit. Been listening to your podcast for over a year, struggling to take action. Advice to start and focus on one thing. I have many ideas. Thanks, Pat. So number one, get all of your ideas out on, lay them out on the table. Literally lay them out on a table, like Post-it note style, right? All out there. What I would do is the purpose of that exercise, it's really simple. Just lay all those ideas out. Get them out of your brain, because once they're out of your brain, you could deal with them. You could move them around. You're able to then, excuse me, one moment. Woo. Didn't want to sneeze on you, so I kind of had to leave for a sec. So get all those ideas out, and then you'll see some ideas that when you just see them, you're like, really? That doesn't make sense. Crumple them up, throw them away, recycle, by the way. Then you're going to see some ideas that stand out. You're going to see some ideas that kind of cluster together. Wow, there seems to be many on tennis. So let me explore the tennis space. And then what you want to do is determine within those ideas, these are not your ideas. These are just seeds. These are starting points to do more research on. And I shared a lot about this yesterday, so you can watch the replay if you want. But then it starts to go into, okay, well, let's actually hypothetically choose one and go down the path of doing a market map exercise. That means finding the places, the people, and the products that are already in that space, because you need a map before you figure out where you want to sort of have your lay of the land, right? So you need to understand what's in this map. Again, the people, the places, and the products. And then you can understand from there, using your seed ideas that you still move forward with, the ones that you greenlit. From there, you can then determine, oh my gosh, this market map looks crazy. I don't want to be involved with this. I don't like the people who are here, or there's so many products already. Not to say that because there's products there already, you can't come in and create a better product, but just perhaps you can see already after looking at the lay of the land that that's not where you want to land. So you could scrap that idea, then hypothetically choose another one, and then another one. Do that exercise with all the ones that seem to make it, and then you'll be able to have a better understanding and actually have real life things that you can guide you with to choose which idea you want to go down. So that's what I would recommend, Sarah. And also check out my book, Will It Fly? It'll help you if you go to this resource here. Currently, it's available via PDF for free. We're making it free during this time. There's also a course called Smart from Scratch that's also free. By the way, it's normally not free, $249 retail. We're giving it away for free so long as this crisis exists. We've already given away over $300,000 worth of that product. So go ahead and check it out there. What's up, Roman? Good to see you, my friend. Hey, Pat, I found a really good job offer, but I've been working by myself for a very long time, so I have some anxiety about having more people depend on me. Some thoughts on dealing with this. Oh, it's really interesting that that's what your anxiety is about, having more people depend on you. I'm curious to know if that's actually something that's holding you back while working for yourself too. Have you hired people? Have you trusted others with anything from email to content creation to just team support? Maybe you could potentially use a specific kind of person, like an integrator, and you haven't done that yet, because I'm just very curious about specifically why that's the thing you have some anxiety about. Have you perhaps let people down in the past, or any of that sort of stuff? And if so, don't let that hold you back from making decisions, because I think that stuff in the past is stuff in the past. Learning from that, however, is really important. And I think that no matter which path you choose, that's something to definitely explore, because it could potentially hold you back whether you work for somebody else or you work for yourself. So that's number one. Number two, I think I would lay out literally on paper the pros and cons of making this decision. And finally, and this goes along with Sarah's super chat from earlier in her question as well, is when you make this decision, or excuse me, before you make this decision, do what I like to call the DeLorean experiment. And I would imagine going into a DeLorean 1 year from now, and then finding yourself after making that one decision, like let's say you choose to work for this company. Fast forward 1 year from now, you find yourself, and you don't actually interact with yourself, because then you would mess up the space-time continuum. So you don't do that, but you just kind of explore how your life is like at that moment. And what are you doing? What's your daily life like? Are you happy? Is it giving you what you need? What would you need if you were to choose that route for it to be something that you could be happy about? And then kind of come back to present day and then go back to, or actually you can go from timeline. No, you'd have to go back to present day and then choose a different thing and go into the timeline, because you don't want to have two parallels going at the same time. Anyway, sorry, we're getting a little space-time continuum-y here. But you see what I mean? Like, pick one hypothetically, see what your life is like in that decision, then come back, then pick the other one, see what your life is like in that decision. And Sarah, you can use that with any of these ideas too. Good morning, everybody. What's up? Xenia, Vlada, the usuals are in the house too, which is great. Just Samson, I saw earlier too. Been a while. Good to see and hear you again. What's up, Michael? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here, Cleveland. Let's see. Yes, you are nuts. I am definitely nuts. I feel like, I'm waking up earlier and working harder than I've ever worked before. And I know it's because I see a lot of people out there who are going through stuff that I've gone through myself. By the way, coming soon, either today or tomorrow. Today, there's a regular podcast episode coming out on Smart Passive Income. Matt and I recorded an hour-long episode of the podcast, another emergency one. You might have seen the emergency one that came out last week. We recorded another emergency one called The Guide to Getting Laid Off. So if you happen to have been recently laid off or furloughed, or your job's in distress, or you happen to know somebody, look out for that emergency episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Smart Passive Income, because that will go there in the feed. It'll also go on this page here, smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit, when it is available. And again, there's a bunch of other free resources there. But this episode is 20 minutes of me talking about some specific things that you could do and think about to reframe your mindset after you get laid off, and to hopefully bring you back to earth. Because I remember how upset and depressed I was during that time. But at the same time, after I finished with those tips in the beginning of that episode, Matt comes on and he delivered a 45-minute, hey, here's what you can do with this time to potentially start your freelancing career. So how to take some expertise that you might have or some knowledge and turn it into a freelancing career to at least supplement the income that you need to come in for a short period of time, or potentially even go full-time. He's helped loads of people start freelancing careers. Actually, a lot of the people who are on my team were initially people who he has helped freelance, who then I eventually hired on my team. So that episode is going to come out very soon. I think it's going to be very great. How do you bounce back mentally when another bigger business trumps you on something? I would consider, okay, well, what are the advantages that you actually have being smaller? There are a lot of advantages that smaller businesses have. You can be more quick, more nimble. You don't have to go through a lot of red tape to make decisions, so you can come up with solutions faster, and you can get a little bit more personal with people. This is the other thing too. I would very much use that as motivation versus deflation. It can be very easy to play that comparison game, and you have to realize that, well, maybe they have more money, maybe they have more team, or maybe they just got lucky, and that stuff happens. But feeling bad about that's not going to help you. Bouncing back from it and realizing that, okay, well, that happened. How can I take advantage of the fact that I'm quick and nimble and small and strong? And I recorded a podcast episode a while back called The Riches or the Niches, or the Advantage of Being Small. And I think that that's perhaps where you can start to sort of lay some groundwork, getting a little bit more niched down, finding people within that community, within that market, who have specific problems. So let's say, for example, I don't know what industry you're in, but let's say it's fitness and it's marathon running, and you have a competitor that just crushed a recent launch and it's being talked about by everybody, and that's crazy. Well, can you go in and say, hey, okay, well, you've helped everybody with marathons, but guess what? I don't help everybody right now. I'm helping people who are running their first marathon, and that's what I'm going to own. All right. Let's see. Hi, Pat. Thanks for all you do. What platform do you recommend for hosting a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, IG that is easy to use? I'm hosting an online tennis summit next month. Cool. Well, Ecamm Live here, which, by the way, patflynn.com/ecamm live with 2 M's, will help you stream to Facebook and YouTube, not simultaneously yet. However, I do hear from some little birds on the inside that might be a possibility, but I'm not quite sure. I don't know. The other thing that you can use, there's a couple. Restream.io. I don't know if that does IG, but I know it can repurpose one single stream to many. OBS streaming is a free tool that you can use to stream, very similar to Ecamm, but I feel it's a little bit more clunky. And then finally, I found one the other day, Looma, LOOMA.com. That actually does stream to Instagram. It's one of the only desktop ones that I found that streams to Instagram. And it worked out really well the other day when I did it. So that's what I would recommend. Rap in Combat says StreamYard could be great too. Let's see. This is a great piece of advice here from Social Hack. Employer weakness is my advice. And this is a fantastic piece of advice. Thank you for that, Social Hack. Retired business owner, thanks for being here. I saw his comment earlier. So a great example of this is when I first started out, I wanted to get a website up. And this was before I knew anything about WordPress. And I had, and I had this idea to get this website up to help architects. And I got online and I was like, okay, I need to learn how to be a JavaScript CSS expert. I'm going to code my own website. And I was like trying to learn from YouTube and do all these things. And I remember there was one point, I finally found out that there were these things called WordPress blogs that you could just use a theme on, which essentially is like selecting a skin and making it easy to code. So I found that. But then there was one moment where I wanted to move an image, a banner ad, from the left side of the page to the right side of the page. And I spent 8 hours on YouTube and trying to figure it out and messing up and all these kinds of things, having the website break. And it was just a simple thing for moving the thing from the left side to the right side. And I remember April, who was my fiance at the time, reached out, or she saw me like getting so distressed about what I was doing on the website. And she's like, what's going on? And I said, I can't do this. Like, I'm not meant to do online business. I can't even move something from the left side to the right side. It's probably not meant to be. And she was like, oh, well, like, let me call my friend Mel, who is a web developer that she knew from college, to see if he can help. And I was like, fine, I'm willing to take anything at this point. So we got on a call, and literally within 5 minutes, he was able to fix it for me. And he did it for free. But I was like, wow, that was kind of cool. Like, I should have done that earlier, right? How many times do we say that? Oh, well, I should have done that earlier. Well, I should have done that earlier. And what I love about this tip is, well, you're going to have some weaknesses. And you could spend a load of time trying to learn about that, to come up and be an expert on that, which, it's going to take a long time. And it likely won't be to the level that other people who dedicate their life to that kind of thing can do. And there's a lot of ways that you could take advantage of people who have already spent years doing that stuff, making mistakes for you, so that you can continue to do what you need to do. Joanna says, holy moly, I'm late. Morning, y'all. What's up, Joanna? Another regular in here. Karma Cash Flow in the house. Roman, good to see you. Let's see. Do you think the economy is going down the drain and we're all going to lose our jobs? No, I don't think so. But I will say it is something that is very super stressful right now, and we don't really know how far down it's going to go. I'm not going to lie and say everything's going to be okay, because I don't know that. I just want to be honest with you. But I think that no matter what, we're always going to bounce back. And a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but a lot of people are also going to lose their jobs and create something amazing. And I want to remind you, Juan, that 2008, I got laid off when the recession was happening. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was able to, after realizing that I could take control of certain things, and there were other things that I couldn't control, it became the best thing in the world. I look back and I guarantee you, if I didn't get laid off, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't have as much time with the kids. I wouldn't have the ability to help more people. And so coming out of that dip was an amazing growth period in my life. And it really took the craziness of the world at the time to kind of get me going. And I guarantee you, if I wasn't laid off, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I'm so thankful I got let go. Pat, I waited all night to ask you a question because Google wasn't clear. YouTube, I have one channel and one passion project. I really want to create a third channel. My question is, so you have one channel and you want to create a third channel? So you have a second channel too? What's the best practice? Should I just add videos to my channel, or should I create a new one because it's a new topic? If I create a new channel, should I do it under the same Google account? So I would, it's always best to sort of separate things when possible, if it makes sense. Now, if they happen to overlap at all, then I would consider having it be on the same channel, just having it be a different segment or show, essentially. So you'd name it, it would be its own playlist. A lot of people are doing that. For example, MKBHD, tech reviewer extraordinaire, he created not a new channel called Dope Tech, not a new channel called Retro Tech, but they're essentially shows within his channel that all live under the same subscribership. And it obviously makes sense for him to do that because he has that subscriber base there already versus creating a new channel. But it's all related. It's all tech related stuff, but there's sort of like little shows within a bigger sort of channel. Sort of like, you know, you got the Disney Channel, but then you have Raven's Home, and then you have, you know, all these other shows that I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that I know because I do watch the Disney Channel, in addition to Disney Plus, actually. But I have kids. That's my excuse. I have kids. So you could do it that way if they are at all related. And of course, within a specific channel like ESPN, those are all sports shows, but there's different shows and segments within. So that could be one thing. However, if it is separate, I would recommend starting a separate channel. Just know that that's going to be some additional work. I would have it be under a different account, and I would do it. I would see, okay, with this first channel, what worked, what didn't. Let me implement the things that did work on this new channel and not do the things that didn't work on the new channel. What are your favorite conferences? We met at VidCon a couple of years ago, but it was very underwhelming. Yeah, VidCon was an interesting conference. Now, there's Vid Summit, which I really love and enjoy, and Mr. Beast actually partnered with Daryl there, and it was an amazing event last year. And it's about 1,000 people versus 20,000 people. And it's not, hey, let me go to see my favorite YouTuber and snap pictures and yell like a screaming little girl kind of thing, which is very much what VidCon is about, plus a giant conference center with like Nickelodeon and Mattel and Nerf and all these other kid-related things. VidCon was very overwhelming, and I'm glad that we're here talking about this today. Vid Summit, however, run by Daryl Eves, is very creator-centric, very community-centric, very... Here are some panels, here are some presentations about how to grow on YouTube, and I really love that. So I would definitely check out Vid Summit. I like Social Media Marketing World. I also like Craft and Commerce, which is a very tight, family feeling like conference, but also very much for creators too. I like MIA, which is Marketing Impact Live with Chalene Johnson, probably the most raving fans I've ever seen about anything ever in one single room, about 1,000 people in the room there. And FinCon, the Financial Blogger Conference, is always fantastic. And then FlynnCon, which is my conference, which is not happening this year, unfortunately. And we're still crafting a message out to everybody as we are learning more information every day about what's going on. So keep that in mind, and don't worry, we will, be refunding your ticket, or at least offering that to you. So anyway, those are some things. You're welcome. Pat, if you had 0 people on your live each morning, would you still do it? For how long until you would explore other options? I would still do it. It would just be essentially like a podcast episode. I could repurpose it in that way. Plus, thousands of people watch these streams after they're done. So although we have 162 awesome people on right now, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. More people will find it later. And plus, you can go back to these streams, you can rename them, you can even repurpose certain parts of them, and then turn them and repurpose them into things that could become very tight 5-minute videos about specific topics. It would be a lot harder, obviously. I love the interaction. That's what makes this great and flavorful. However, definitely with what I know about podcasting, you can still provide amazing content with 0 people watching live on the other end. That's for sure. Let's see. Xenia and Vlada says, I'm so looking forward to start reading his books. I wanted to buy them for about 2 years. One book almost ready, then Pat's book. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate all the support for the books. This is a great question from Launch Media. Tim Fair's question, what's one thing $100 or less that's helped you change the way you work lately? The one thing $100 or less that's changed the way I work lately. That's a great question. Lately, well, I was going to say my calendar, which is free. And honestly, the more that I can hone in on my calendar strategy, blocking time to work, but also I block the time that I use to spend time with the kids. Like, that might sound weird, and you might be like, Pat, really? You have to, your time is that precious? You have to schedule time with your kids? Yeah, because if I don't, I will be mentally everywhere. And I want to be 100% focused on you when I'm here. I want to be 100% focused on my podcast when I'm podcasting. And I want to be 100% focused and not thinking about work at all when I'm with my kids. And so that time blocking is really important because that creates a virtual boundary for me. And I'm very good at sticking with time-based things. And I know that about myself. You might be better than me in terms of just when you're with the kids, you're with the kids fully. I'm not. So I need those strategies in place. And when I see it on my calendar, hey, 3:00 p.m. is coming, play games with the kids, I'm reminded to do what I need to do. I feel bad if I go over, and when I'm with them, I'm literally with them mentally and physically too at the same time. So that's one thing. I'm trying to think of other things. Honestly, I haven't spent a lot of money lately. I've been in saving mode for quite a while and just been using what I have. I think a lot of us assume that, we could just spend money on things and get better right away. And a lot of times that's true, but a lot of times we already have access to everything we need to get what we need to do. All right, rocking that beard, says Josh. Yo, this is my survival beard, my COVID beard, as somebody said the other day, which I thought was kind of interesting. Let's see. Oh, also, I've reached out via IGDM, Twitter, and also LinkedIn. I know you're slammed, but giving you a kind of nudge in real time. Thanks, Rapid Combat. I appreciate it. I do get, especially nowadays, with a lot of people knowing my story, literally hundreds on each platform a day. So I apologize. If you want to ask a question, I can potentially answer it here. Good morning. Thank you again for what you do. My pleasure, Debbie. I appreciate you. Everything by John says, do you have any recommendations on someone who can edit my vids? I would just reach out. There's a lot of people, John, looking for help right now to edit vids. And I don't have anybody specific in person, but I guarantee you there are places where you can go. And there are places that you can go to that are sort of built to go and find places like that. So you could go to upwork.com or even fiverr.com. Again, just beware on Fiverr. You definitely get what you pay for. However, there's a lot of good creators and editors there. That's for sure. But likely you could potentially use your network or your connections now. Hey, anybody know anybody who I could use for editing videos? And likely you could probably get a good price at this point. There's a lot of people looking for work or taking extra work because they're worried about what's happening in the economy right now. And you could potentially get somebody through a recommendation knowing that, well, it's probably been vetted already versus trying to find somebody new. That's what I would recommend. How do you go and take your family to the park and play outside away from people? We do go outside once a day and we take the dog on a walk. And we're outside for about an hour and there's a park and, we're allowed to do that here. We're not sort of stay at home, don't go outside unless for emergency, although it's close to that. We do go outside. We get some sun when there is sun and we walk the dog, let him do his thing. And we just have good conversation. We see people in the distance. We're like, hey, how's it going? Hanging in there? Yeah, okay, and bye. And there's sort of small chat with people around the neighborhood. But we do go outside. We let the kids play a little bit. We've been doing a lot of playing in the house and getting creative with coming up with games. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram stories feed. If you've been following me for a while, you'll probably notice that me and the kids come up with some kind of innovative games that involve just things around the house. For example, what we'll do is we'll put a stack of playing cards up on a wall or stack them on chairs, leading them up against the back. And we'll take rubber bands and then we'll try to shoot them out, or we'll create devices out of Lego to try and shoot them. Another thing that we'll do is we'll sort of throw cards. I'm actually pretty good at throwing cards and aiming them to fall into buckets. And we literally can spend hours doing that. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, because those are the games I played. I was an only child, so I needed to I needed to do something to entertain myself. Right now, we need to do the same thing because we're locked in the home. So let's see. Jay here says, I am a video editor. How can I help? See, look at that. You just need to put it out there. Let's see. I think we're all going a little nuts, says Corey. Yeah, I think so too. But we're all going to be nuts together, right? Jeanette says, my husband got laid off because of COVID-19 yesterday. I'm so sorry. I know how that feels. And, the one question I would say is, what might this actually make possible? Obviously there's things to take care of and I know that doesn't feel good right now and it provides a little bit of worry, but at the same time, potentially we can come out of this even better with a better job or, freelancing or other things like that. Again, look out for that episode that comes out very soon with myself and my CFO, COO, Matt, coming on to just really lay down the foundation for how one might now take their skills and turn them into a freelancing career. That's coming out very soon. And again, another emergency podcast episode. Sasha here says, I have a podcast thanks to Pup. No list yet. Is now the best time to drop an irresistible video trading freebie to grow a list? I think you know the answer to that, Sasha. Thank you for, number one, being a student. You're amazing. Number two, you're asking all the right questions. Okay, what can I do in this opportunity? How can I benefit from what's going on right now? And I would create, a video one. If you're comfortable on video and that's not going to be a super crazy struggle for you, lean into that for sure. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be huge. Even if it's an ebook or an audio thing, whatever the case may be, this lead magnet, this incentive put on a landing page, hopefully, that you can drive people from your podcast to with a nice, easy URL would be something that could benefit everybody right now. And I would definitely lean into that. That's awesome. So much value on these streams. Thanks, Pat. How would you advise making the switch from service to a product-based business? I only have high-ticket clients, so it's hard to walk away from that revenue. Completely understand. What I would recommend is checking out a guy named Brian Casel, Casel. He has been on the show a couple times. You can look up him on the podcast, actually, and great episodes about productizing a service. So the quick story about Brian over at productize.com, I think, or don't quote me on that, but Brian Casel, Casel is the name. You can quote me on that. And he specializes in taking businesses that are service-based and turning them into productized services, which means you're not focusing on the one-to-one client relationships where everything is sort of customized anymore, and it's like every client's different. You can't build systems for that all the time, or you can't at least build a system throughout the whole process, because every client's different, and you are very much based on like the work is very much based on their needs, and there's a lot of conversation that happens. There's a lot of digging that needs to happen to get to the right point where you can satisfy these clients, right? However, you can productize certain things. You can, like, let's say, and this was Brian's example, he was doing customized websites for people. And so, number one, he began to niche down. And then number two, he created like options for people in the restaurant space to get web-based solutions. So, hey, you're a restaurant owner, fantastic. I help restaurant owners build high quality websites. However, here are 3 different options you can choose from: the basic, the sort of silver, and then the platinum, or gold, or whatever his thing is. And it was like, okay, if you buy the platinum, you get all these things. I'll design you, like, these are your choices, and you have options, but you can only choose from these certain things. And that was really, really helpful for a lot of people after hearing that episode, because a lot of us who have agencies or product or services, but we have to be creative, take what we do and turn them into essentially products that can be sold, and then our team can help sort of lay the foundation, and there's much less customization, but you're giving people still what they want. Kurt says, thinking about creating a free course during quarantine. Do you have a post, podcast episode, or recommendation for Kajabi versus Teachable versus Podia versus Udemy versus et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I'm a big fan of Teachable just in general. So that's, number one, I'm an affiliate. Number two, I'm an advisor for the company. I wouldn't be an advisor if I didn't love it so much. My first free course, by the way, Kurt, was the Will It Fly companion course, literally put up in a day and a half. So it's that easy. I can't speak to Kajabi other than a lot of my friends use it and love it, but it's very, very high end, and it has kind of all the things that you might need, which may be too much. I would much rather focus on the companies that do one thing and one thing really well. So Teachable, for example, creates a beautiful platform and makes it really easy for the creator to create a course, but also it's really easy for the student to take the course, versus a lot of these other things which have emails and funnels and all these things built in. I have other tools that I love, like ConvertKit, which is integrated with Teachable, that takes care and is the best for email. So I have it more separate products that are great at each of their things versus one product that is semi-great at each of those things. Anyway, I'm just a big fan of Teachable. I think no matter what it is, like, pick one and go. They all work. So just pick one and go and get it up there, because every day you kind of wait on this decision is a day that nobody's getting into your free course. 177 people live on right now, which is really amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. Again, typically we go live 8 a.m. every single morning. This is day 9 of our Quaranteam streak. And thank you for being here, Team Flynn. You're amazing. And I think we could break 200 live tomorrow. I went live early today, so we're going to end a little bit early, probably around the 8:45 a.m. mark. So just keep that in mind. I apologize. I have to leave early, and we're seeing a lot of great questions come in. Loving the communication happening in the chat. Thank you so much for that. A lot of you are getting to know each other. We're starting to see regulars here like Aaron and Ellen and other people. This is just fantastic. I'm kind of taking kind of a random approach to the questions today, so I apologize, but we're going to miss some, but we're going to get some others. Let's see. It's a challenge to see the positive right now and think about starting something new. I encourage people to reach out to those who have been let go and started a business to get help, guidance, and support. Exactly right. And that's exactly what sort of I'm trying to share, right? My story started in 2008 after I got laid off, and I know a lot about what it's like, and I'm trying to help out. And this is why me and my team are stepping up. We've actually never been more busy than we are now, because we know we have a unique position to be able to help a lot of people. If you go to this website up here, smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit, you'll see a number of resources and things that we've made free that are normally paid, and other things that you can get into right now during this time to hopefully help you and guide you as you get started. Let's see. Super chat from Malini. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. By the way, all the super chats are getting donated to the San Diego Food Bank at the end of the month, so thank you for that. Pat, thank you for all you do. Much appreciated. How long did you stay a solo entrepreneur before you decided to hire a team? So I started to hire VAs. So these are contract-based virtual assistants that were overseas in the Philippines. That started 6 years after my journey started. And then eventually I decided that I wanted to go with more of a remote team sort of in the US, because Filipino VAs, I'm half Filipino by the way, they're great, fantastic, did everything they needed to do and did it on time and did it well, but they never stepped up and offered more. And that's not a bad thing. That's just very much the Filipino culture. You don't overstep the boss. You don't make suggestions because you don't want to make the boss look bad. And that's the sort of situation. But I wanted somebody on the team to essentially take kind of ownership in their role and to come up with ideas and to actually please overstep me when it makes sense. And so that's when I started to hire some other team members. And this was about, 20, literally the first employee that came on last year. And that's because I was working contractually with an agency called Winning Edits. I essentially just bought that team and bought out the company at the start of 2019. So, it started way later. If I could do one thing to change my business trajectory differently, I would have hired the team much sooner, honestly. Because, when you have a team, whether they're contracted or not, like, they can start to feel like they have part ownership and can step up and can do things, and I've been employing my weakness. So yeah, it took a long time for sure. Thank you so much. Ryan says, you're using Ecamm Live, right? Any struggle with MacBook fans running noisy fast? It is just your shotgun mic isn't picking up fan noise. The shotgun mic is not picking up fan noise because it's a shotgun mic. The shotgun mic, as you can see here, right off the camera, literally is like a stream of capture right from the nozzle right into my mouth. And if you just imagine that, that's what it's taking. So it's not getting fan noise or anything like that. If you're using a mic like the Blue Yeti, for example, unfortunately, that's a mic that has a lot of sort of noise pickup around the room. And that's why I don't really recommend that microphone. I do also prefer things like the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 or 2100X, as well as the Samson Q2U. If you want to check out stuff that I have going on in terms of my kit, you can go to kit.co/PatFlynn. I have not yet put my live stream stuff on there, but I will be very soon. But kit.co is a place you can go to see a bunch of different setups that I have. I have one for mobile podcast recording. I have one for my beginner podcast setup. There's a mic that's mentioned there, the Samson Q2U, which is great for sure. Let's see. Chasing the Graph says, I've interviewed celebrities, athletes, comedians, etc. for my YouTube channel. Would it pay to promote my channel or just let it gain interest by itself? The only reservation I have with people choosing to pay for things is, how are you going to know if it's paying yourself back? If you don't yet have that formula, then I wouldn't pay for just promotion. If you do have the ability to have, if I pay $1, I get $2 back. If I pay $10, I get $15 back. Whatever the case may be, you have to know that it's working. Just spending money to get more exposure and that's the end of the equation, is never a good idea, because how do you know if it's working or not? Like, sure, maybe you're getting more exposure, but is that actually giving you more dollars back? So what I would definitely do is consider, okay, how might I pay for this to get more exposure? But then how would I make sure that it's paying me back? Is there an email list that people can subscribe to that then turns into a product offering, for example? Is there a way for you to track metrics based on CPMs if you're doing the advertising route? All that kind of stuff is really important. If you have never interviewed someone before, would it be wrong to start by creating the interview as a blog? If so, what is the best way to ask them questions? Email them? So that is sort of essentially emailing them questions and getting the questions back, which I will say from my end is not the most attractive offer, because I'm going to be forced to sit down and write answers. And that's a hard thing to do. And the idea of a blog is not as valuable as the idea of getting on a person's show, right? For example, I mean, it's just more value having a podcast, for example, or a YouTube channel to really feature somebody on, and it's much easier. It's just absolutely much easier. However, that's not to say it can't be done. What I would recommend is I would start by asking just 1 or 2 questions, because it's when it gets to like 5 to 10 questions that it's just going to take so much time that I'm not going to be compelled to do it, especially if you're brand new. But if it's just 1 or 2 questions, then I might be more compelled to do it. And yeah, an email, or what I would actually recommend doing is sending a video. A video gets seen more, it cuts through the noise more. Even send it as a direct message on social media. You might be able to do it and cut through the noise via email. But a video for example, you saying like, "Hey, my name is Susan. I'm starting this new blog, and I have just one question to ask you. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'd love to feature you on my blog, and just your one answer to this one question." That could work really well. All right, so we're gonna go for about 10 more minutes here. I appreciate you, and you guys are amazing. Let me give you a quick applause while I take a sip of coffee. Thank you so much. Jay's asking a great question here. What's more important to do first if you're starting today? Build a personal brand or create a product service? I think this is a question that is coming before you're what's it called? Pushing the cart before you pull the horse, or pushing the horse before you pull the cart. I don't know. This is out of order. What I mean by this, Jay, and please, I hope you don't take offense to that. This is a great question to ask because you need to know, well, what positioning do you want to take? Do you want to take the company service-based position or sort of a personal brand where people can connect with you? But I would first consider, if you haven't already, well, who is it that you're serving and who's already out there? Because there might be an opportunity in a space where there's a whole bunch of companies and services already, and there is no personal brand. And then that will help you focus on that and lean on it and help you make sure that you know that that's the right decision. The other thing about that is you're going to understand what products are available in that space and how you might be able to come up with something. And does it make sense for a personal brand to come up with a product like that? Or would it make sense to be like a software or some other product of some kind? Zenny says, why does what Pat writes come in the chat about 20 seconds or so earlier than he tells it in the video? And that's because the chat comes in real time. The video is streaming. It's going up to some satellites, coming into you, into YouTube. And there's a little bit of a delay there. So I apologize about that. All right, let's keep going here. Francis Detroit. Do I say that right? I'm guessing that I say that right, and I really like how it sounds. I don't speak French. My wife can speak French a little bit. Detroit? Croissant? Croissant. Sorry, that's bad. How do you go about practicing and implementing what you learned from reading those 25 books, Karma Cash Flow? Okay, so this was a question to somebody else. But let's talk about this a little bit. I want to teach you something called just-in-time learning, JITL. And just-in-time learning is something I learned from Jeremy Franson from Internet Business Mastery, the first podcast I ever found that really inspired me to start my own business. Now, just-in-time learning is only allowing yourself to learn about the things that you are doing next. So whatever it is that your next task is on your list of things to do, that's only what you can learn about right now, as opposed to learning about all kinds of things and not having any time to implement. And I love just-in-time learning because what happens is it helps you narrow the focus of what you're learning and you can execute on those things. You are reading or learning for a purpose because it relates to the directly next thing that you're doing on your list of things to do, or that next task or that next business that you're starting, right? The problem with this, the hard part, is that there's so much great content out there across all those different platforms. You kind of feel bad missing out on stuff. You don't want to miss out on stuff. So here is the solution to that. As you come across articles that you are interested in reading, put them aside for later and categorize them. Let's say, for example, you come across an article that relates to Pinterest, and there's some brand new Pinterest traffic strategy that's coming out that's really exciting to you, but you know deep down that that's probably a bright light syndrome sort of article that just is trying to capture your attention, but you know you have these other things to do right now. It's not about what you're learning right now. So you put it aside. You put it into Evernote or into a Google Doc folder or something that you can come back to later. And I guarantee you, in most cases, you're never going to need it. You're never going to come back to it. It's just helping you feel safer about the FOMO that would have happened if you just let it go. So put it aside and then get back to what you need to do. So just-in-time learning. Rafal says, Pat, I have a SaaS app, software as a service app, and started an interview podcast with industry experts. Should I keep the podcast under SaaS brand or create a new brand site for the show and potential expansion in the future? So if I had a SaaS product, I would house the podcast on the SaaS product, if, of course, related to it, because it can provide a lot of value and bring a lot of traffic back into that. So that's how personally I would do it. I would definitely sort of imagine what it would be like to be structured in all different kinds of ways and just consider, does this make sense when I share it? If people were to share it with each other, like, is there any confusion here? That's what I would try to understand. And then what I would do is make sure that you use your SaaS company as sort of like a sponsor of each episode. It doesn't have to be a different name, but it can be a different name. I think that's totally fine. You know, your SaaS is product X and your podcast is, the awesome engineer or something, right? Sponsored by Product X. Go to productx.com/name of podcast to go check out the feed and anything else that's going there. Where can we find Jeremy's teachings on JITL? I don't know. It was just in honestly, it's somewhere deep in the archives, like literally an episode in the teens or something of the Internet Business Mastery podcast, which I don't even know if it's still there or not. Corey says, has anyone else here who's been here regularly gone to check out each other's channels, maybe even reached out to see how we can all help each other? Pat is bringing together some amazing people. Sip it, Pat. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, this is the power of bringing communities together. If you as a leader of your people bring people together, it only makes people feel more connected to each other, and thus, as a result, you and your brand. This is a whole chapter in my book, Superfans. Anybody pick up Superfans, by the way? Give me an emoji in the chat. Thank you so much, by the way. That book is doing extremely well. Not in terms of sales, but I mean, it's doing okay in sales, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is the people who read that book, I get such amazing messages of people who've implemented, even while reading the book, some of the strategies and then seeing some results. And that makes me so, so happy. Will It Fly is another great book, but the Will It Fly sort of process takes time, and it's very much outside of people's comfort zone, which is the struggle of entrepreneurship, but it takes longer. With Superfans, it's like, oh, I could read chapter 3 and I can do the exercise at the end of the chapter and boom, I got a result. And that's really cool. Just saw a whole bunch of emojis come in. Thank you so much. When I interview people, I keep it the same 3 questions and I let them know what they are beforehand. That's one way to do it. I prefer to do it in a way where I know I can get a little bit deeper with people, because the truth, and I'm just being honest from my position, trust me, there's people who have asked the same questions every single time who've done really well, aka John Lee Dumas on Entrepreneurs on Fire, and that's totally okay. I'm a big fan of John. I love John. He's a good friend of mine, but I prefer interviews where I can show up and nobody will really know where it's going to go. There's a little bit of mystery there. I love the podcast where the host will go a little bit deeper, because sometimes when I hear these repeated question episodes, I'm like, okay, that's a great answer, but what else happened? Like, keep going, please. I want to go here, but the host is not going to go there. And number 3, somebody could replace you. Like, anybody could ask those same 3 questions. How are we going to stand out? And I'm not saying you should restructure everything. I'm just saying, in addition to the 3 questions, how are you going to make it unique? How are you going to make it something people talk about? Maybe the 3 questions are incredibly amazing, and that's the positioning too. I just wanted to share a little bit of what I was doing on my end and how I thought about that. All right, I'm going to answer 2 more questions here, and then I'm going to have to take off a little bit early today. I'm so sorry, but I have a mastermind group call that I have to be on. Let's see, just checking my messages. Yeah, actually, today on the podcast, episode 416, I'm interviewing a good friend of mine, Grant Baldwin, who teaches people how to speak on stage. Now, in this current environment, nobody's speaking on stage. However, this is a perfect time to learn. If you do want to be a public speaker, we will get out of this. There will be more conferences in the future, guaranteed. However, if you want to be a speaker, now's a great time to learn about it. If that's your next just-in-time learning sort of thing, or another thing you want to add, check out that episode 416, just came out today. Hey, Pat, loving the regular morning live events. I hope they stick around long term. Honestly, I'm having so much fun. It's holding myself accountable. I think that the times may need to change if the kids start going back to school, because this is right in the middle of school time. Maybe it'll be earlier. Maybe it'll be, from 9 to 10. We'll see. But I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you so much for making them fun and for being here with me and for checking out the show. This is awesome. Not to hate, but it's not really cool. I apologize. Send me a message today. Twitter, Rap and Combat. Okay, what I'm going to do is follow you, Rap and Combat, on Twitter, so you can send me a direct message. That's actually where I get found the least, is actually a direct message thing. Let's see, Rap and Combat. All right, I'm following you. I just got you. All right, Superfans, what's great? I got it for all my coworkers. Thank you, Bobby Ann. You're amazing. You're the best. Let's see. I was going to check out Superfans today. Thank you, Yvette. I appreciate you. I have a question. Okay. How did you learn copywriting and storytelling? Thank you. So this will be the last question that I'm going to answer. Thank you, Dimi, and thank you to everybody here. Let me just make sure that I didn't miss any super chats that came in because Ecamm does not organize them in the best way possible, but I did see a couple that came in earlier and I gave a shout out to them. If I missed them, I apologize. I checked them later on and I give you a shout out later too. So we got Malini and I think Sarah also provided one earlier. Just thank you all so much for the support. That money goes to the San Diego Food Bank later in the month. Okay, so how did I learn copywriting or storytelling? Number one, I wanted to learn about copywriting and storytelling, number one. So being conscious about what it is that you want to learn is really important because then you can be conscious in finding information about that, but also paying attention to when you are receiving it on the other end. And so just being engulfed in that situation and immersing yourself in it is sort of the start. Number two, practice. So copywriting, practicing being conscious of the numbers and how my writing converts into numbers, not just with sales, but with open rates, click-through rates, all that sort of stuff. When you can start to pay attention to what works and what doesn't and being forced, like diving into the deep end and just trying it out, that also helps too. And number three, find a mentor in that space. I studied storytelling for a while and there were a number of people who I knew who told great stories, from Stephen Pressfield to, Ray Edwards and many others in the copywriting space. And right now, Prerna Malik is a great person who can also help you with copywriting. I mean, there's so many people. I'm going to have her on the show very shortly here, which is really cool. But anyway, paying attention to stories. And honestly, YouTube was a great place to discover storytelling, learning about the hero's journey, the hero's arc, and just trying to get better at it. And honestly, the podcast has helped me more than anything, really, with storytelling, because that's truly what I feel podcasting is meant for, storytelling for sure. So anyway, Team Flynn, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And please hook me up with a thumbs up. Oh, and if you could do me a favor, there's a video coming out in about 2.5 hours. And it's about how we can tap into a business leader's brain, a very specific business leader, and essentially hack our way into building a successful business. So when that video comes out, because I'm here for you live every morning, if you could do me one quick favor, when that video comes out, hit the bell notification icon so you get notified for it. When that comes out, hook me up with a thumbs up and a comment really quickly after that comes out. That truly, absolutely, massively helps to get that sort of momentum right away. And that would be amazing. Plus, it's a great video. That'll help you. It's stuff that I've never talked about before, but I think will be very, very good for those of you who are starting new businesses and trying it out for the first time. So make sure to check that out. And that would be my only ask of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Take care. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.